Good evening, or not evening, whenever you're listening. Welcome to the new Dakota Boys Talk Movies. It's been, as they say, Dakota, a minute.
That's right, man. We're back again.
Back, and dare I say, better than ever. I mean, I got a tummy tuck. Dakota, I'm just gonna say, Dakota, you don't need anything.
Oh,
You look great as is.
Oh man, it's getting deep in here.
But boy, did I need that tummy tuck. So we're back. We're better than ever, and we are kicking it off with a new movie review. What are we reviewing? I'm just kidding.
Yeah, a new movie,
a new movie.
Not like new to us.
Yeah, new to us, or we're so old that a 10-year-old movie. Well, that's still a new movie, but an actual new movie. We're seeing it opening weekend. Venom. Let There Be Carnage. All of a sudden, I was like trying to remember what the subtitle was.
I thought maybe for a second there you kind of like had a mini stroke or something.
Well, it kind of. It was one of. I'm the person that they probably just put the 2 for. Like when they just like, let's just call it Spider-Man 2. Because that's how I am with like, now there's going to be this other Spider-Man. I keep mixing around which one's No Way Home and which one's Far From Home. It's like, I just got to remember in that second one, he's far from home, and in the new one, he might be in another universe. Who knows? If I just remember that, it might help. But Let There Be Carnage is the movie we're talking about tonight, the new Venom movie. When did the last Venom movie come out, Dakota? Was it 2018?
Oh, it doesn't seem that long ago, but yeah, I think it was 2018.
It must have been, because then there was 19, and then there was just kind of the year where we don't speak of. And so, yeah, it was supposed to, I think, kind of be like a couple of years later, but, it ended up being 3 years later that this one came out. Although, is it? Here, I'm going to do it again, because the other Venom might have been an earlier in the year release, because it had the Spider-Verse teaser at the end. Of the credits. So I think it might have been a spring release, and then Spider-Verse came out that winter or whatever. But anyway, this movie sort of picks up. How long would you say there is between movies? We have the teaser for the character of Carnage during the mid-credits of the last movie, and I would say this movie picks up 6 months? It doesn't really say. It feels like less than a year.
Yeah, the film actually starts off, and this is kind of odd. They put 2 actors who would have been adults in 1999, and then they showed them as like the younger versions of them.
Well, it starts with a flashback to 1993.
Oh, was it 93? I thought it was 99.
No, it was 93, but it was still throwing me for a loop that in 1993, we were supposed to believe that Woody Harrelson was like 12. Because I'm pretty sure in 1993 he had already been on Cheers as a bartender.
Yeah.
So I guess he was just supposed to be playing a character younger than he is in real life.
Yeah, I think he does have some years on I can't even remember her name now. We were just talking about her earlier.
Naomi Harris.
Yeah. He does have quite a few years on Naomi Harris.
Yeah, this movie, it does kind of start interesting with kind of we're introduced to our antagonist. Although, is there a protagonist in this movie? Dan.
Oh.
Dan is the real protagonist.
Nobody likes Dan.
Nobody likes Dan. Yeah, we're introduced to Cletus, and I only remember her power name. We'll just call him Carnage and Shriek.
There you go. That works for me.
He's not truly Carnage yet, and she can shriek, I guess. How they're both in this facility together, and she's being taken to a different facility, and neither of them are happy about it because they have this where the love of each other's lives thing going on from being together from a young age. And wait a second, Dakota. I'm mixing my timeline up. It does make sense his age, because In 1993, they looked like they were maybe in their 20s or 18 or 19. And I'm thinking of when they talk about how when they're little and they meet at the orphanage.
Yeah.
And I guess that was before. So I guess it still maybe works to what but there is still a little bit of an age gap between those two they make them. Yeah. Sorry. We were thinking of two different things, I think. I just caught on to that. But yeah, we're introduced to them and we find out that this love of his life is actually, as we said, Shriek, where we were talking about this, Dakota. Is she supposed to be like comic Shriek, a mutant? Because they don't really explain. In the movie, she just inhales hard and can scream till people's ears bleed.
Yeah, they don't really explain how she got her abilities or why or anything about them. She just has them. And something that kind of led me to believe she was, maybe they were hinting at her being a mutant. They threw her in like a clear kind of cage.
Soundproof room.
Which kind of reminded me of Magneto's cell at the
end
of the first X-Men movie.
Yes, but more pillows for soundproofing. But yeah, well, it did feel very Magneto prison-like.
So I think they were just like purposefully trying not to explain what she was.
You're just supposed to understand that she has this superhuman ability, and I think you're supposed to also just shrug it off and be like, we're in a universe that has Venom, which is like a goo that comes out of a guy with a face, so you kind of just let it go, I guess. Speaking of which, then we are introduced to our hapless hero, Eddie Brock.
Is he a hero, though?
Is he? He's trying to be, because as we find when this movie starts, they're having, what'd you call it, a lover's spat? Him and Venom. It really ends up being a romance in a lot of ways, which is kind of fascinating.
Oh.
Where it's like, I feel like that whole kind of first part of the movie of those two, it just feels like at any moment, we're going to hear. Little odd couple going on. But Eddie Brock is attempting to lay low because of the events of the first Venom movie by begging Venom to stop eating people's heads. And he's trying to get him, just so they're trying to lay low. Eddie Brock's trying to rebuild his name as a journalist, and the movie ensues from there, I guess, so to speak, where he is asked by Woody Harrelson's character to come and see him. Like, he specifically asked for Eddie Brock to come and interview him. I didn't know if you had anything to say.
Oh,
sorry.
No, I was just, that's something I kind of wondered about. Like, why does he want this like journalist to kind of come and visit him?
Well, you find out quite a bit later in the movie, but you're right. It does kind of initially it's kind of like stuck in your craw, and maybe they wanted it to be stuck in your craw because it's like, why does he want Eddie Brock? This doesn't make any sense,
Yeah, and I originally thought that you were going to be doing like some sort of Hannibal Lecter style mind games, but thankfully it never comes to that.
Yeah.
Because I feel like that's been played out.
Yeah, it did. Initially, I was like, oh boy, we're going into some Silence of the Lambs territory. And I was like you, I was kind of relieved when they didn't, because it's like, we don't need that again. We've already had 7 different versions of Red Dragon, and so let's move on.
It's only been 3. Come on.
3. Yeah, it just feels like, well, I guess there's just been a couple other Hannibal movies that aren't the Red Dragon story. But yeah, and so I don't think what would, if you had to give this movie a genre outside of comic book movie, Dakota, what genre would you give it?
Ooh. See, I almost want to put it in like a buddy cop movie, but neither one of them are cops. I guess it's
well, okay, but it still fits because it's like, I guess you could say a buddy comedy or something.
Yeah, there you go.
A buddy comedy / romance. Because it really does feel like, like I said, it feels like this movie's supposed to still be within that time period pretty close to the first movie, and it's like these two still trying to work out their relationship a little bit with sharing a body and one being hungry for brain and the other one attempting to be moral, although like maybe he stretches things sometimes, maybe for stories and stuff like that, but he doesn't want to kill people. That he draws the line there, I guess you could say. And so it really feels like it's, I don't know, there's just a lot of I that was like the best part of the first movie, I think, too, was watching Tom Hardy in a lot of ways just act against himself. And so it is kind of funny that this one is directed by Andy Serkis, who basically did that as Gollum. Kind of acted against himself.
Yeah.
And so it does kind of make you wonder, is that what attracted Andy Serkis to the project, was just, his intrigue in those type of characters? I don't know.
A part of me thinks maybe he injected some of that in there.
Maybe because it is heavier in this movie.
Yeah, in the first one, it was so kind of, I think the way some people talk about it is how this movie turned out, where it's just like they're constantly at odds with one another, and there's I don't know if you want to call it what they have, a symbiotic relationship.
Well, I think this movie is really them learning how to be symbiotic or simpatico, so to speak. Which is why it's a bromance. That's what I'm saying. So, yeah, just those scenes, I guess, of so they didn't have to constantly have us watching Tom Hardy just talking to himself. Visually speaking, obviously, audibly, we're hearing Venom's voice, but they did a lot more of pulling Venom out and being a talking head, from the symbiote goo, I guess. They did that a few more times in this movie than in the first movie, too, and I think that just kind of helps because it gives you something more visually interesting to look at. And then, of course, there was a few times when Venom was trying to come out when he shouldn't have been, and was like, Venom gets easily annoyed and just wants to eat people.
Yes.
And so, yeah, but there were some interesting kind of side character stories in this. We have a detective who was a prison guard for Shriek in the past, and now he's a detective for the city, and so he has like a tie, and there's kind of a storyline there. We even get a little bit more with the convenience store lady, Mrs. Chen, who we all remember from the first one because there's some good stuff in the convenience store. And Michelle Williams' character Anne is back, and Dan, her doctor boyfriend, and Venom's arch rival, since Venom is in love with Anne. Also, who else do we see again? The question in everyone's mind: do we see sexy Venom again? I'm gonna leave that one up in the air for you to find out.
So there's a line in this that I kind of want to. I don't think anyone's really brought it up, but when Venom sees Carnage for the first time, he kind of tries to nope out of there right away.
Yeah, he nopes it,
and he's like, "That's a red one," and it's like,
yeah. I meant to ask you about that. Is that a thing?
Well, what was the one in the first one was purple?
Yeah, or gray? I don't know. Yeah, something. But I didn't know if that was like a comic thing, and where he's like panicking that it's a red one. And yeah, but that doesn't mean anything to you.
I don't know. Well, we don't know I don't really know anything about these symbiotes. I know there's
other ones.
There's been other ones.
Yes.
I mean, it's not like the Green Lantern rings. Like each color of the ring depends on what it's capable of doing.
Yeah. Or now, when I think of colors, I've been working my way through Smallville again. That's right, and I'm choosing to do it, people. You may think it's a cheesy teen soap opera. Well, you're wrong. It's a cheesy teen soap opera. with superheroes. So no, but in that, the colors, like the red kryptonite makes Clark just like a passionate bad boy, and they get into some other colors. I think so far where I'm at in the show, it's mostly just been the red one, other than the normal green. But I know, like, isn't there like a clear kryptonite no, the clear one is when is drained of its power. Anyway, we won't get into it. Sorry, guys. I've been watching a lot of Smallville, going down a rabbit hole. Anyway, Venom.
Right. Well, back to Carnage.
Hey, guys. It's been a while since we've done one of these. You may notice.
Oh, man.
Yeah, so let's look at one thing. There is a few more. I guess I wouldn't say maybe there's more action sequences in this one, but like the first one, I thought they did some kind of they figured out some kind of clever things to do with just him being gooey in a sense. How did you feel about the ways they used the symbiotes in this movie?
I think it was a lot more impressive how they portrayed them as opposed to the first one.
Yeah.
Because the first one is kind of just like, I don't know, the villain kind of reminded me more of Sandman, where he was kind of essentially just making weapons out of his hands. And that kind of reminded me a lot of Sandman, because he'd do like the hammer sometimes, or...
You're talking about in the first one?
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, because they didn't really... I know Spider-Man's not in these movies yet, so you can't really have him doing stuff that Spider-Man would do.
Yeah.
But...
Yeah, and I think that's the thing is, like, they're limited, because I know one thing Venom can do is he swings by the goo like Spider-Man.
Yeah.
But I suppose that comes later when... Yeah. So we're not there yet, or if we're ever there. I don't know, whatever they do with these. Yeah, it felt like... too, like I don't know if this is the right term, but like they felt more, I mean, it was still familiar and had the same appearance, but I felt like in this movie it wasn't so glossy, maybe. Sometimes when they CGI stuff and they forget to make it look like it belongs in that world, and it sometimes looks a little too shiny or something.
Yeah.
I feel like in this one, I don't know if this is the right word, but the colors were kind of matted a little bit more so that they kind of looked more realistic in the world they were in, instead of just that shiny CGI.
Yeah, I really, really did enjoy how Carnage was portrayed in this.
Yeah.
He does seem like something out of a nightmare, which in the comics is like how he's always portrayed.
Yeah. I was trying to remember, and maybe this is me just making a fake memory of sorts, but was Carnage like more golden red and gold? Sorry, it sounded like I was saying gold and red, but red and gold? Or was he, because in this he's kind of mostly red and then kind of has like a grayish kind of rock color in parts. For some reason, I remember having like a yellowish or something, but maybe
I think that might just be another symbiote.
Maybe I am thinking of a different symbiote, because, yeah, that was just something that I caught at one point. But I do agree, I liked kind of the Carnage design, because he's supposed to be more chaos, hence the name Carnage. And it just felt like when you looked at him, he, like you said, he just feels like an explosion of chaos and just kind of creepiness in a sense. Even though Venom isn't exactly, the prettiest guy on the block or whatever, that Carnage just had more like this, like chaotic ickiness to him that was a little bit different. I think part of it was that they had him a little bit more tentacle-y and things like that.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Mm-hmm. But let's look at performances now. When we reviewed the first one, I know I for sure, but I know you too, we were just like saying how Tom Hardy made the movie, like, because he was just like 100% in. And everyone else in the movie was fine, and we're fine. But that was really Tom Hardy's show, that first one.
Yeah.
Now this one, there were a lot more other people doing things. You know, it wasn't so like he was still the focus point, but there was a lot more people going on around him. It wasn't just like, well, every once in a while he'd see that doctor that Jenny Slate played, or you know, the bad Mark Zuckerberg, you know, or something. But in this one, you know, there was Woody Harrelson, Naomi Harris, and like I said, there was this detective that's a big player in the movie. How did you feel about the performances in this one?
Well, once I got over that kind of weird way Woody Harrelson was speaking, because I don't know
what was that?
I don't know what he was trying to really do with that, but it kind of caught me off guard a little bit. I got used to it eventually, but
yeah, because at first I think he was just trying to like not be Woody Harrelson, but his way I think of getting around it was there was like a weird pattern to it. Yeah, but maybe it's supposed to be off-putting since he's essentially a serial killer.
Yeah, and I don't know there's a scene where they kind of involve some animation.
Yeah,
that in particularly, like, kind of seemed like for a moment we were watching another movie for a second.
Yeah. So when that happened, I was like, this is a bold choice, because it worked, but it just kind of came out of left field.
Yeah, I'm not saying it was a bad scene. It's just for a second there it was.
Yeah, it was just so unexpected or something. But I don't know, and maybe I'm wondering. You know, it's like, was this in the script, or did Circus come up with this? Was this a post-production call? You know, but yeah, it does. It kind of like all of a sudden there's just this animation sequence, but for what it was doing, I thought as it went on, it kind of worked. You know, but yeah. So and then Naomi Harris. What were some other things we were realizing she's from? I'm pretty sure she was Calypso, right? In the Pirates of the Caribbean movies.
Yeah, she is. I think the first thing I remember her from was 28 Days Later.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
She is the lady in that, isn't she?
Yeah, and then she's been Eve Moneypenny the last few James Bond movies, and hopefully we'll actually get to see her soon in the upcoming Bond film.
Yeah, it's supposedly going to come out this month. Now that I said that, though, it won't.
Which feels weird, because that was a spring 2020 movie supposed to be anyway?
Yes.
Yeah, it's just...
Yeah, that was in that first batch that were canceled when like it was Quiet Place, and all of those were slowly just getting pulled off the slate.
Yeah, it's funny that Christopher Nolan, you know, his big movie kind of tanked at the box office, but Shang-Chi actually did pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's kind of emboldened the people behind these films to be like, all right, we'll just put them in theaters.
Yeah, and Dune isn't out in America yet, but I guess it's doing pretty good overseas.
Yeah, that's it's kind of a big month for movies.
Yeah, well, and it's like when we were at the movie theater tonight, even that guy who helped us, the worker there, was talking about how there's still a lot of big movies coming out still this year. I mean, even though there's only a few months left, they're really getting in a lot. You know, especially compared to when there was like one every 4 months, like it was for the longest time, when it was like, long drought, Wonder Woman 1984. And then it was like, drought, you know, and, you know, there'd be a few kids' movies, you know, like splattered through there or something, but just not a whole lot. So, yeah. But yeah, so anyway, yeah. And then the one person who I felt like got like short-ended in this was Michelle Williams. I was surprised that her part I thought was going to be bigger than it was. And it wasn't like she was a small part. It's just that she really wasn't in it as much as you'd think, maybe. But I think it's because the movie wasn't quite what I thought it was going to be. Like what the story was going to exactly be.
Yeah, I think simply because it's almost like there was four main characters in this movie. 'Cause
Yeah.
you have Eddie Brock and you have Venom. They have their thing going on. Then you have Carnage and Shriek and what's going on with them. And I think she kind of it came down to, hey, we're trying to keep this under 90 minutes.
And like I said, even that detective, I don't even know that actor's name. It almost felt like...
Oh, he's in a lot of stuff, man. Stephen Graham?
Yeah, I mean, I recognized him. I just don't know from what. But
he was actually, we mentioned, we were talking about a movie earlier that he was in. What was the Johnny Depp movie where he's playing John Dillinger? Public Enemies.
Oh, is he in that?
Yeah, he's Babyface Nelson in that.
Was he really?
Yeah.
Didn't realize that.
You weren't really a fan of the show Boardwalk Empire, but he played Al Capone in that. Did a great job as Al Capone.
Okay. Yeah.
So.
And I feel like his storyline was pretty pivotal to this movie too, and so they were, like he was always kind of integrated into Venom too, more than Michelle Williams, I guess what I was getting at, which was surprising to me because, again, this movie ended up being, the story was just kind of different than maybe I thought it was going to go, and then it made sense, and then you kind of just, then you like Dakota said, you get it, it makes sense, and then again, it's a 90-minute movie, which was to the first Venom's benefit, and I think was to this movie's benefit too. That they don't overstay their welcome and they tell the story they're there to tell.
Yeah, I'm going to kind of say something controversial right now.
Okay.
I kind of wish other Spider-Man themed stuff kind of kept the same, had that same idea.
Yeah, I think a lot of people forget that the first two Spider-Men with Tobey Maguire were both like almost 2 hours on the nose.
Yeah.
Like the first one pretty much is, and I think the second one is pretty much right at that 2 hour. Whereas now, comic book movies, the trend is 2 hour 20 or more.
Yeah, I feel like it's getting a little too absurd at this point.
Well, and I think a lot of it is there's so much more world building. If you think about it, in Venom, they're not really doing a whole lot of world building. And in those original Spider-Man, where he's not tied to anything else, there's no world building. Whereas in all these movies now, they need this extra 20 to 30 minutes because peppered throughout the movie, those are the world building moments, And so that's a little bit of it, I think. Not totally.
Yeah, but I just felt like the last Spider-Man film was it felt a little too long, especially when you rewatch it. It feels...
Oh, yeah, the Mysterio one?
Yeah.
See, I don't think that way, but it's because I love that movie.
Yeah, you would. Did we ever review that one? I thought we had.
I don't know.
But
if we haven't, cards on the table. I loved it. That's a good question. I wonder if that one was one we missed.
I am okay with it, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we got the third Spider-Man coming out here soon. We'll probably talk about the other two again here at some point.
Which did you like? How hard did you like scream for joy when you saw that trailer and Doc Ock showed up at the end?
Oh, gal. I mean, I'm actually one who's staying pretty conservative on my excitement for that movie because I have a feeling that what most of the internet is expecting is going to cause most of the internet to be disappointed. That's just my 2 cents. I think that if they're truly introducing those Spider-Men in this movie, that they're really not going to necessarily be in it as much as alluded to.
See, for me, it was the pumpkin grenade. That caused me to freak out.
Well, yeah. That was the unexpected moment for me in that trailer. But see, I guess I was more referring to everybody's freaking out about the other Spider-Man being in it. I don't know what's going on there.
Yeah.
But yeah, when the pumpkin bomb fell and you heard the laugh, I was like, No way. I was like, are we getting a little Willem action here?
Because not to be that guy, but those pumpkin grenades were pretty devastating.
If you remember from the first Spider-Man, it turned guys into CGI skeletons.
Which was such a Sam Raimi thing.
Yes.
He's such a horror. I don't want to say a horror filmmaker, but although he's obviously done that before with The Evil Dead.
Yeah.
But it was kind of like horror, but goofy horror in a way.
Yeah, like they basically blew up and became Army of Darkness skeletons for a few seconds. Yeah. So, I think... do you have much more to say about this movie, I guess? I found it enjoyable. I'll put it that way.
It's definitely one of those movies you should see on the big screen just for the climactic end fight.
One thing that I will say about these Venom movies is they're loud. Now, again, if you've listened to our original Venom review, I probably need to have a disclaimer here that when we went to the first Venom, somebody went to turn the volume knob and then passed out and then turned the knob all the way as they fell because it was... What's even the word? It was psychotically loud. Every time there was a buildup or a Venom screech or something, it was like Shriek in this movie where your ears would start bleeding and you would need a hearing aid for the rest of your life.
Yeah, it took me back to Attack of the Clones.
Oh, would that happen when you went to that movie?
Yeah, when Slave One kind of drops those mines to take
out
out
the seismic charge.
And yeah, the theater I was in, the walls and the ceiling rumbled because it was so loud. It was just, oh man, it was something else.
Yeah, that's actually my when I get a text message on my phone, it's that seismic charge. Oh, it goes swoom. Even if that doesn't happen, where someone leaves the volume switch way too high, they're just loud movies. And I think part of it is that Venom talks very loud. And then the fighting involves a lot of yelling and screaming.
See, we say this movie's too loud, but there are some movies when I'm watching them at home, I have to turn the subtitles on because I have the volume up so loud, but I'm still struggling to hear these people.
Well, sometimes with these Blu-rays at home too, they have them mixed so crazy where it's the explosions are blowing you up and then people go to talk and it's and then it's boom, 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 and you haven't changed the volume at all. It's just it's mixed for surround sound and you're watching it on a stereo on stereo sound or something.
Yeah, so I guess we just can't win for losing.
What are you going to do? I'm just going to be a grumpy old man about it, I guess.
Yep.
No, but again, I found this one very enjoyable. I guess I don't know really, because now I've watched the first Venom a few times now, and since I've only seen this one once and pretty freshly, it's hard for me to say this one's better than the first one or whatever. Right now, all I could definitively say is I thought it was on par with the first one, and I didn't like the first one a lot, and that's how I feel about this one now. Dakota, I don't know where you at, I guess, in terms of...
Well, I thought the first one was pretty good. This one is also really enjoyable, but I think this one I like it a little bit more just because there's a lot going on.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that's where it's easy to say that maybe this one's better is that there's more to the story, which helps. The first one was really just kind of the novelty of it, just Tom Hardy just all in.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I think it's safe to say that. I would also give the disclaimer that these movies are not for everybody. Even if you're a comic book fan, Venom is just you kind of have to know what you're getting into when you watch a Venom movie. He's it's ridiculous. He wants to eat people's heads. I mean, that's just not everybody's cup of tea.
Yeah, it doesn't veer off the path, though, like Deadpool does.
Yeah, well, Deadpool is just over the top for over the top's sake, though.
Yeah, I could understand why that movie would be off putting, but I think these Venom movies are just kind of good fun though.
Yeah, and I think that's definitely what they're going for. Even when, you know, Andy Serkis in some of his interviews leading up to this one, it sounds like they just wanted it to be like a stupid fun time, at the movies. So, and I feel like it hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
It's a stupid fun time.
It's funny because movies like that kind of aim for that seem to kind of stick around in your consciousness a little longer.
Yeah.
Like the Brendan Fraser's The Mummy.
Yeah.
That was meant to be just like a good old fashioned popcorn flick,
Right.
And,
Just a romp.
and it's in so many ways, in all ways, I guess, better than that Tom Cruise movie that they threw $200 million in, and
Yeah. I mean, every time I think of the Mummy movie, I mean, you can't not think of when the mummy is walking up to them, screams at them, and Brendan Fraser just screams back and then just shoots it in the gut with his shotgun. I mean, that is awesome. That's just not going to happen in a Tom Cruise mummy.
yeah, I think he takes himself too seriously.
Yeah, it's too self-serious. I mean, and that was the thing. It's just like, just sometimes some just good old-fashioned, just dumb popcorn fun. That's all we want. So it's kind of nice when these come around every once in a while. And like I said, I think if you like the first one, this one, I think you're going to find yourself enjoying it quite a bit too. But yeah, I think with that, we'll kind of pull this one to a close. It's nice to be back. We're going to be bringing some more to you now, partially just because we just are again. And man, there's just going to be some more movies to talk about.
A
So
lot of big ones coming up.
a lot of biggies. So with that, we'll catch you next time. So thanks for listening to this episode. This is Steven.
This is Dakota.
See you later. But like they felt more, I mean, it was still